So again, welcome to this week's Flipinar. I am the Flip Man. My name is Ty. So I'm going to share my screen so we can get into this week's topic. Okay, so as you see here, this week's topic is how to stop buyers from stealing your deals. If you receive the actual alert because you are a subscriber of my YouTube channel, you already saw the title. So how to stop buyers from stealing your deals. Common question. So tonight we're going to answer that for everyone that's on this Flipinar and those that will join and see this in the future on my actual channel. So before I get into that, remember now I'm trying to create a presence as far as a podcast on iTunes. This is for Apple products only right now. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. I will get it and make it available for Android users. I think you can get it on Stitcher. So that will be an option in the future. So make sure that if you want to check out my library of content, it's going to take me a while to get everything up there. So bear with me, but definitely take advantage of the podcast. You can download so you don't have to have internet access downloaded to whatever device you have for the smartphone, tablet, or I guess even a laptop on Apple products as of right now, the date of this particular video. Just to get the disclaimer out of the way, most of you all know that you won't make $10,000 if you don't do anything. Have to say that because some people don't know it. Obviously, you know about my 200 plus videos, but if you don't, on my YouTube channel, which is going to probably be a little different than anything else that you've seen out there, I have over 200 plus videos that tell you everything you need to know about wholesaling houses. Also, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, and you will be alerted whenever I upload new videos and when I go live on YouTube, such as this Flipinar. You can also call or text me. If the free videos are not enough, you can inquire about my courses and coaching, which are step-by-step, but you get coaching directly from me. If you text or call, I'm the only one that's responding to your message. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter. You see the handles here. And again, subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn on the notifications so you are alerted. If you want a free copy of the one-page contract that I've used for more than 14 plus years at the date of this video, text the word contract to 313131. That's contract to 313131. Don't text me, text to that number. No area code needed, just those 6 digits. Text the word contract. People want me to come to their city to train them live, just me. You can inquire about that and the fee, the freight. You can call or text me, 205-492-3425. If you're interested in commercial real estate, the way I do it as far as wholesaling, 5 reasons that you may want to get involved. It's low competition. You can do it virtually, sitting at your laptop, PC, tablet. Sea of opportunity because you can target the entire country, no cash or credit needed, and obviously the big fat paydays. FlipThisBuilding.com. That's FlipThisBuilding.com. If you've never seen me before, or if you're a repeat Flipinarian, if that's a word, I'm going to introduce you to real estate, but wholesaling real estate, mainly houses. So what is wholesaling? Wholesaling houses is a form of flipping houses, except the time frame is much shorter and no repairs are made to the house before the property is purchased. A wholesaler enters a purchase and sales agreement with the seller and then assigns the contract to a cash buyer for a hefty assignment fee. Here's an example. We're going to take a $100,000 house. What I mean by that, the house would appraise for $100,000 in excellent condition. The example picture that you see here, obviously this house needs repairs. If nothing else, it needs lawn maintenance. But we're going to assume this house is worth $100K in excellent condition. That's what it will appraise for. We call it ARV, which is after repair value. don't get confused with the term itself, but what it simply means, what will the house appraise for in excellent condition? All right, for whatever reason, the seller will allow you to place this property under contract for $30,000. There's obviously a degree of motivation there. May need too many repairs. It may be a tired landlord or a combination of both. Maybe going through a divorce, maybe relocating, maybe medical bills, tuition for a student, for a grandkid or a kid. It could be any number of reasons why someone could be motivated to sell at that price. So for this, the sake of this example, that's the number. $30,000 is what you have contract A for with the seller. Last week's webinar, I actually went through filling out the seller's contract and the buyer's contract and how you use those to actually close your deal and how you get paid. Okay, so now you have the property on the contract for $30,000, and now you want to market that property to your cash buyers. If you don't have any, just market the property. It's not hard to find a buyer if you have a great deal. Not just a property for sale, but a great deal. So assuming this is a great deal here, you get a call from a buyer, he steps forward, he's taking a look at your video that you should have recorded and uploaded to YouTube, which is a strong suggestion that I recommend. And he steps forward and says, hey, I can't do 45, well, you'll accept 41. Me, I'm accepting that. So whenever you close on the property now, you have a contract with the seller for $30,000 and you have a contract with your buyer for $41,000. So guess what? You get the difference of $11,000. That is your assignment fee. And this is a wholesale transaction. All right, so you ask yourself, is this something that I should be doing? Well, here are a couple of examples from a non-student and a student, but both obviously followers of mine from my YouTube channel. All right, the first example here is a California. I said he's not a stud, should change. I'll have to change it. Hopefully I remember. But he's actually a YouTube subscriber. He just basically used my videos, those 200 free videos that I mentioned earlier, and he figured out how to put a deal together. Okay, just the nuts and bolts of how this deal was put together. He did it through direct mail. He was running bandit sign of direct mail, but this deal came from direct mail from my memory. You can watch this particular interview on my YouTube channel. Just do a search for $21,500 made on a deal in California, and you should be able to see that particular video with Chris. But I gave the seller $10 earnest money, and he used the same contract that I use that you could download for free from just what I mentioned before. And long story short, within 30 days, he closed on this property and made $21,500. Now, if you just base this on a return on investment, the ROI, it's over 200,000%. Ridiculous amount of a ridiculous ROI. Here's another example of an actual student in Baltimore. He put up $1 earnest money. He found this deal through bandit signs, and he split $32,000 with a partner. If you do the return on investment on this, the ROI, it's over 3,000,000%. Now, obviously, you can make houses, make money flipping houses, but you got to have money to do that, or resource, or access to it. And then there's the risk involved. But you don't ever. It'll be very difficult to get this type of return just flipping houses. When I mean flipping, I mean buy, fix, and you sell to someone that probably wants to live in the property versus wholesaling. Obviously, you can make money with both. I'm just letting you know that the return on investment, there's no comparison, plus the risk, there's no comparison. Who am I? So some of you have heard this, some of you have not. So P, I have to always do this because I have to keep in mind people, this will be the first introduction that they may come across because they did a search on YouTube or Google or whatever, saw this on Facebook, and this may be their first introduction to me. So I have to go through this, so bear with me. So I am an entrepreneur first, and I'm not one of these individuals. Golly, somebody's calling about selling a house. Oh my, that's the first time I believe that's happened since I've been doing these. Oh man, I hate not to answer that. Okay, so I'm an entrepreneur first. I'm not one of these that's always been like that. It only happened for me in my late 20s. I mean, well, my early 20s when I was in college. One of the first things that I had I thought it was a brilliant idea of doing was taking part of my student loan money and becoming a used car dealer by getting a dealer's license and going to dealer's auction selling cars. Didn't happen that way. I'm not even sure how I figured out how to get a dealer's license. I guess I did at least know I need to call the Alabama Department of Transportation, I think is where you would start. I may be wrong, but the point is that I don't know how we got things done before the internet. I guess we use encyclopedias or whatever, which a lot of you probably don't even know what that is. But anyway, so I got a license and started going to auctions. All right. One thing you have to realize about those auctions, if you're not mechanically inclined, you're going to get your hat handed to you, because when you go to those dealers auctions, the cars are going to look brand new. I don't care how old they are. Okay. And they'll run temporarily good enough where you think you should buy them. So either you have someone on your team that's mechanically inclined or you're mechanically inclined. If you don't have that, you're going to get your hat handed to you. Okay, so I was only in that, I got put out of that fairly quickly, within a year. So fast forward 2 or 3 years later, went to Daytona Beach for Black Beach weekend, and one of my brother's friends that met us there, he was from Orlando. He had started a mobile car wash business and had did 6 figures with this particular business. So it sounded like something that I could do, that I could afford to get into, which basically how I base a lot of my decisions on stuff that I get involved in, even then, even now, and what, resources and my skill set and what my weaknesses and strengths are. So I couldn't wait to get back to Birmingham. So I purchased a passenger van where the seats had already been taken out, baby blue, for $900. Purchased a $100-gallon water tank and a pressure washer, along with a promotional sign whenever we're on location to let them know what we were doing. So my cousin and a childhood friend, we were in business. The spring and summer of '95 went well. Even though I had another job, I was banging it out when I could, and when I wasn't there, they were taking care of it. So fast forward to the fall when it starts to get cooler, and that's when I realized I couldn't do this. 40, 50-degree weather mixed with cold water wasn't going to work for me. So I was out of that business. So fumbled around with some multi-level marketing stuff over the next few years. And fast forward to 2002, I think the last multi-level marketing thing that I was trying was a prepaid legal, which I think is called Legal Shield now. A friend of mine and his now wife were going to school to become real estate agents. And the guy that normally taught the class, he didn't talk about the guy that normally taught the class was absent, and the substitute that replaced him that night didn't talk about being a real estate agent. He talked about investing in real estate and creative ways of it and investing in real estate. So my friend told me he knew how my mind worked. I was always looking for something. So he mentioned some of the things that the guy was talking about. And so it got my interest. So from there, I didn't do anything. That was October 2002. So fast forward to December of that same year, I was at my mom's house for Christmas, and just up early one morning, waiting on her to prepare breakfast, and I saw one of her Carlton Sheets, no money down commercials. And I had already seen them before the years, as many of you all have back then if you're old enough. And which they didn't tell you anything, but just I made this much money. Carlton helped me make this much money. So it was telling you that, but it wasn't telling you how did you make the money. That's what's important. That's why I'm not that keen on motivational speaking. My mind is right on doing things, and I'm not kicking whoever. If you need that, that's fine. I need to know how to do something, not that I need the right mindset. I need to know how to do it. So anyway, at that time, I caught it about halfway through the program, and so I went up the dial. They were all over the TV at that point on Saturday and Sunday mornings, and I found it from beginning to end. Again, it didn't tell you anything, but it made me think. He can't be lying about all of this, referring to Carter Sheets. He can't be lying about all of this. So I waited till I got back home. Back then, my mom didn't have internet service. So I waited till I got back to Birmingham. And I did a search on this entrepreneurial message board that I used to frequent. And I asked the question, does Carter Sheets program really work? And one person replied, like, yes, it does, but Ron LeGrand's course works better. And so I did a search for Ron, found his site, and saw his course, his package. It was $1,500. And at that time, I didn't have that type of money. You know, I didn't even know where I would come up with it. So what they had on the site was a teaser version, a condensed version of it for $69.99, $80 with shipping. So I ordered that. I got that. It was in cassette tape form, and I listened to it. And all that did was inspire me to say, hey, this is something that I can do. This is something that I need to do. And I made up in my mind, if I had to get a second job, I would save that money. So a couple of days later, I thought about eBay, and I did a search for Ron's name, and boom, there were a couple of auctions there with that same exact course on his site. So I bid it on an auction and lost, and the guy that was running the auction emailed me. You could do that back then with eBay. I had to always stress that, I don't think that's possible now. But, we agreed upon $400. And so he shipped the information to me, the CDs to me, and I went from not knowing anything about real estate, especially creative ways of making real estate, because I was like many of you all think you need a lot of money or great credit to do it. And I went and just to information overload, because it was more than just wholesaling. It was wholesaling houses, it was lease options, it was subject tos, it was flipping, which is retailing, buy, fix, and flip. And I think I had one more module in there called for sale by owner. And I was just, again, went from not knowing it, from 0 to 1,000. And so if I didn't get anything out of it, and what attracted me the most was, number one, wholesaling. Number two is probably, not in any certain order for the next two, but number two is probably lease options. Then knowing that I could just put out signs that people call me, and either the numbers work or they don't. There's no trying to convince them to sell the house to me at a price. If I do an effective job of marketing and get enough people call me, deals are just going to come my way. They just are, and that's basically how the business works. So anyway, I ordered some bandit signs. I overpaid for them. I bought 50 signs, spent $250 for them. I didn't know any better at that time. I picked them up on a Friday, and I put them out on a Sunday morning. So my very first two calls were deals. One of them was a wholesale opportunity, and the other was a lease option opportunity. So the lease option opportunity came first, and I pursued that particular opportunity. And the situation was a seller, his mom passed, left him a house, but the house still had a mortgage on it. It needed some repairs, but it was livable. But he didn't live in the house. He had his own house with his own mortgage. So he was making two payments, or was trying to make two payments. So I explained to him what was owed on the property. I couldn't pay cash for it, but I could, if he would consider a lease with an option to buy, I would be able to relieve him of the debt within a 1 to 3 year period. And that's simply by placing a tenant there that would cover the rent. And I would probably get a couple $100 above the rent that would go in my pocket. And I would get a non-refundable down payment from the tenant buyer that would go in my pocket. He was fine with that. All right. He just wanted the debt relieved. That was his motivation, to get that bill off his chest. But he didn't want to lose the house or whatever. So advertised the property. This lady stepped forward. She wanted somewhere for her family to live, and she gave me $5,000 down, cash. Sitting in a Old Charlie's restaurant here in Birmingham, and most money I'd ever had in my hand outside of a tax return back then, and $50, $100 bills. So I was just blown away. I remember the girl I was dating at the time. I called her. I was just so excited, just so excited. So the house, as I mentioned, needed a few repairs, and the guy that owned the property was a handyman. And so I thought I would create a win-win and ask her to see if she wanted him to do some of the repairs and put a little money in his pocket, and she can get what she wanted done. She was fine with that, and he definitely was interested. The other thing is that a friend of mine that I worked with at the time, I was still working at Bell South, which is now AT&T. He did mortgages on the side, and so the owner of the property wanted to get the house that he lived in refinanced. And so my buddy was glad to do that. That was going to be some money for us, so another win-win. So in just dealing with the guy, my friend mentioned, because I had told him I found a tenant buyer, that I had a tenant buyer, and she had already given me the money. He mentioned that to the seller, sent him into a mad rage, I guess because of his financial situation. He felt that I should have, if not given him all the money, at least half of that money, but he thought I should have given him all of that, $5,000. So when he was supposed to meet the lady at the house, he met her there, and he came over there in a rage, told her to get off his property. Tyrone did not own it, and he was going to call the police. So of course the lady felt like she had been scammed. She called me screaming. I mean, well, not really mad at me, more or less. She was hoping I answered the phone. She was just crying. And I reassured her, I said, hey, where are you right now? I'll bring you your money. And so I had already spent $700 or so of it. So, I don't even know how I came up with it. But I carried her $5,000. That really stung. So I called the seller, and in the conversations with my friend that worked with him, I found out the guy was a minister. So I insulted him in some form, saying, hey, the way you operate, I would hate to see the flock that you're leading, or whether he and I cussing each other out. And so after I made that statement, he basically let me know that if he ever saw me again, it wasn't going to be pretty, or something to that effect. So that deal blew up in my face. I could have either said, hey, man, this stuff doesn't work, man. This is some crap. But I was fortunate. And the other call that I got the first two calls were deals, was a wholesale opportunity. Two sisters that mom passed, left in my house. Like most people, we're not going to sell mom's house. Too many members here. We'll let family members. We'll create some, turn it into an income property. Not sure if any of you all have experienced it, but renting to family and friends can be a huge problem. People that don't know you will pay you faster than people that do know you. I'm not sure why that is, but that's the way it is. Not all, but most, in my experience. So after going through that, where family members wouldn't pay them for rent and tearing up the house where it needs repairs, they were motivated to sell. So we agreed upon $20,000. Not sure how I came up with that amount because I was still green, but I felt comfortable that it was a decent deal. Advertised the property in the newspaper, which you can't do now. To be a bad investment, to advertise that way. And this real estate agent stepped forward, said he had a cash buyer, one of his clients that buy in that area. And I explained to him that I was wholesaling or whatever. I normally wouldn't do that now. I wouldn't do that now, but back then, I didn't know any better. So he told me, yeah, he could bring the buyer to the table, but he wanted half of that $5,000. So instead of me making $5,000, I made $2,500. So I met both of them in a parking lot, shopping center parking lot. They gave me a $500 earnest money. We signed an agreement. 10 days later, we closed at his attorney's office. Boom, $2,500. That was my actual first deal. So for me, it happened really quick. Now I took action. I was educating myself, and then I just took action. Everybody's different the way they process. People are often asking me, how fast do your students normally close? That's a very difficult question because most people are not going to move at the same speed. They're not going to have the same understanding. Their market is not going to be the same. If everything was equal, I could give an actual answer. It's just difficult to do that. I've had students that close quicker than that, 2 weeks, and close a deal from the point that I started coaching. And then I had them to have over a year and a half, you know what I'm saying? So, and obviously everything in between. So that's a very difficult question, but point I'm making is I'm no smarter than you are. Where I'm from is no better. Only thing I did is take some very old information and applied it. I discovered that what we think is the hard way It's really not hard if you understand that you take techniques to make money instead of taking money to make money when you're dealing with real estate as far as creative real estate investing. So most people think, as I said, you need tons of money to do this. They're wasting time. Well, I ain't gonna say wasted time because I guess depending, but in my mind it's wasted time. So I'm gonna say that. Thinking you need a real estate license, you don't need one. You can get one if you want to, but you don't need one to do this business. I don't have one. I have never considered getting one because I make more money than they make. You know, it's just that. Now, obviously, some agents are going to make more money, don't get me wrong, but the average agent in Birmingham, Alabama, I make more money than they do by a long shot. So waiting until you have figured out things. I wasn't sure what I was doing. Again, everybody processes information. You have to go with what you're comfortable with. All I knew was if I got my phone ringing enough, I would do deals. I understood that if I didn't understand anything else. I was pretty comfortable on the process or whatever. I would still fumble through it or whatever, but I was. So obviously most of you all may have a job or you look for an opportunity, may be out of work or whatever, and a lot of people hate their job. I didn't hate my job. I just knew it wouldn't provide what I wanted, you know, just to have options to do things. I want money because I want a lot of things. I just want enough money, which I don't know what that number is, that if I want to do something, money won't be the reason that I don't do it. Maybe another reason, but money is not the reason that I don't do it. That's just like my goal for money, you know, and obviously be able to help my people I care about, probably more important than anything. But taking pointless business classes, that's me in college. Now, I wouldn't give anything for my experience in college, and the people I met helped me grow up. Being from a small town, less than 1,000 people, I wouldn't give anything. But as far as what it's been able to do to produce income for me, if I compare the $400 I spent on a real estate course versus who knows how much, I don't even know. I'm gonna say 30 or 40 grand. As far as college, you know, there's no comparison. It's ridiculous that our system is set up like that, that I learned something in a few hours that it took me years to get, and one dwarfs the other. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that, in my opinion. So going to seminars, man, I probably get more people say, hey, I just went to a seminar, I found you on YouTube, blah, 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 than anything. And sometimes they went through a certain part of a seminar and they paid, and I don't know, I guess you can't go beyond what you don't know, in the sense of what your expectations may be with a seminar or something. But obviously I'm seasoned in this, and a lot of you all may be, may not be. It's really simple, man. If someone is offering you something, you should be able to get it all with whatever price. Now, there's some big time tickets out here on some of this stuff, but it shouldn't just be the constant upsell. You know, again, I'm not knocking the hustle. It is what it is. We're in a capitalistic society. I'm just as guilty as anyone else, but I think I just keep what I offer just clean. And then at the end of the day, I let the free information that I give away speak for me and separate me from anyone else out there. Not saying I'm better than them, but I just let what I do separate me from anyone else. But again, it's information overload. We all been there, but even with that, just take action. That will eliminate a lot of that. So why are you here tonight? So let's get to the main event here, how to stop buyers from stealing your deals. Okay, well, this is something I really don't think about. Somewhat have experienced some little movement in that direction over the last few weeks as far as that. But for the most part, I really never had any issues with this. But I'm gonna still get into the people that just have those, I guess, insecurities about the business. I'm gonna go through some steps that, you know, should eliminate as much as possible on this. But you can't control people. You can't position yourself to reduce the risk. There's a lot of things in life, period, that you do. You just can reduce the risk we're just playing the odds or whatever. So let me just get to the first part of it. As far as my experience and hopefully some of my mistakes here, you can learn from them. I remember one of the properties, the only property that I ever felt that I was going to be circumvented on, it still didn't happen. I didn't close the deal, but neither did who I thought was trying to buy the property. Was also, it wouldn't have worked anyway because the property, there was a bad title issue there, and the property really needed more repairs once you dug into it a lot than what the seller was willing to sell it for. But long story short, I felt that the buyer that I had mentioned the property to was going to try to go around me. And I thought the seller was going to be on board with it. It's been so long ago, I'm not even sure about the details. But what I did was, the internet is a powerful tool. A lot of times people ask me questions, and like for an assignment contract or memorandum of contract, those are not even things that I even include in my course and coaching, because they're in such abundance online as far as contracts, and plus I never use them. So I rarely teach something that I don't do, but I still can talk about it because I probably already experienced it. So that's the one time I went and recorded a memorandum of contract, a MOC as I call it. I'm going to get into it a little bit more, on into this part of the webinar. But the other time that I had a buyer to go around me, but I still got paid, was my first apartment deal. I never did a target apartments from the beginning, but this older gentleman called me one day and asked me, would I be interested in, do I buy apartments also? And I said yes, even though I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything about a rent roll, the profit and loss statements, none of that stuff. And it was an 8-unit apartment building, and it was in a part of town that I would have called, it would have been very difficult for me to move a property. I did a couple of deals there, but it was always difficult. It's just more or less perception with buyers that I dealt with, but I still was able to move them. But anyway, what happened was that this is what got me interested in, which I was already interested, but I was afraid of it with commercial / multifamily. Is that, okay, I went ahead and put the property on the contract. I'm going to try to think the number. These were the numbers. I think I had it on the contract for like $80,000. I think I had it on the contract for $80,000, if I'm not mistaken. I probably have a video on that, so you can double check. It's one of my older videos. And I advertised the property, and I got quite a few calls. I was like, wow, I got this many calls in this area of town. So that's when I knew that apartments and multifamily was different from houses, and in the sense of perception. In what you would consider probably war zones in my city, whereas I would probably get no calls on a property if I advertised it, I got a number of calls on this multifamily. That's when I realized that, oh, these are different. This is a different ball game. And it's because it's an income producing property with multiple streams from that particular property. Investors just view them different. And you still have investors that won't invest in that town, that side of town, no matter what. But you are going to have a number that will, especially when you start talking about multifamily. And you'll have even out of town buyers that'll be interested in those, depending on how large it is and what type of deal you can obtain. So that's a D. It would be considered a D property. With multifamily, I'm giving you a little additional education here. You have A, B, C, and D. Think of A as the best neighborhood in your market and having apartments there, and D in the worst neighborhood. So C and B are just going to be in between those. So that's the best way I can explain the different levels of apartments and the way they're viewed. That's one of the first things that a buyer may ask you is an A, B, C, or D property. So anyway, this was definitely a D, a capital D. And so the guys that wanted to see the property, and what was funny is that it was actually, I had 2 buyers that called me, but they were actually the same group, but they didn't know they were inquiring about the same property, and they showed up there at the same time. So I didn't have access to the property, so I had to have the seller there to show the property. And so he showed the property. I was making sure I was standing, you know, there with all of them. So after we had shown the property, one of the guys pulled the seller to the side and had a conversation with him, right? And so, but they were some cool guys or whatever. And he said, Tyrone, man, said, we talked to the seller. You know, we're trying to do something where, you know, he won't have to pay as many tax. I'm going to pay him X amount of money outside the closing, but really on the sale price is going to be like 30,000 instead of 80 or something. And I'm just going to give you 5,000. That's how that went down. So now I had it under contract. So they technically couldn't steal it for the time that I had in the contract, but they could have just rolled me. The seller could have rolled me out. Now, if I would have recorded a memorandum of contract, that does cloud the title to some degree, but I'm not even sure how strong that is, because it'll be up to the discretion of the title company if they still want to do the transaction and do title insurance. But anyway, so they included me in the deal, but my point is, of even bringing that up, they could have actually stole the deal from me by just writing out my contract and the seller not performing or showing up for closing or whatever. Now, you can always take someone to court and all that stuff. I'm normally just going and you know, for the small amount of money that I was going to make, 5, 6, 7, even 10 grand, that would have got eaten up in attorney fees or whatever, and I still may have not won. So, so it wasn't going to be worth, but they paid me. So, you know, boom, and I did several deals after that with those guys. That was the first year. They were just some good guys, and normally that's the way most people are. Normally, now you're going to have some snakes out there. Don't get me wrong, but normally to have that snake buyer, you got to have a snake seller too, to go around you, because they know they're already tied into an agreement or whatever. So it can happen, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying normally you got to have 2 snakes in order for that to happen. So that's my experience and mistakes. So when you're screening buyers, some of the things that I would suggest that you do, this goes beyond buyers stealing your actual deal, but some of the things that you should do when you're screening buyers, whenever a buyer calls you and they're asking more questions about you than the property, that's a red flag. You know, it should be very limited questions about you versus the property. They may want to know what your position is. They ask you if you own the property. No, you can be transparent with, no, I don't own, I have a contractor. Some people will understand you have an option on it better than a contractor, whatever. Basically the same thing, and they understand that. So but whenever they're questioning more about you than the property, red flag. You know, be aware who you're probably dealing with. You're probably not going to be able to do a deal with this person. It's just not how buyers normally react. All right, ownership questions that I just meant, they may ask you directly, do you own the property? You be transparent with it. No, I don't. I'm wholesaling the property. I have it under contract. I have an option on it. Now, don't assume they automatically know what wholesaling is. A lot of times they don't. And sometimes they won't deal with you because they don't understand. They think that you're trying to scam them or whatever. It's rare, but sometimes they'll back away or whatever. But a lot of times, depending on how great of a deal it is, they'll make themselves understand what you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? So because that greed factor is powerful, it can work in your favor and it can work against you. A lot of times it'll work in your favor if you know how to take advantage, because you know us as humans, we're greedy for the most part. All right. When they want to see your contract with the seller, that's a no-no. They don't need to see my contract with the seller. I may sometimes tell them what I got on the contract for. That's just going to be a feel thing and the conversation, and that's rare that happens. Now, if it's somebody I've been doing deals with or where I've done multiple deals with, I just tell them, I say, man, I got on this contract for 50. I won't send the 500. It may just be that simple or whatever. So, but normally when they want to see your contract, another red flag, probably not someone you want to deal with. Matter of fact, I'm not going to deal with them in most cases. All right, speed to close. You always want to hear, and I mentioned this on the last Flipinar, more recent video that I did. I think when I dropped a video the other day. I forgot what the title was. It was just yesterday. Speed to close. You know, you only want to hear this, I can close in 30 days. Now, no. You want to hear as soon as I get a clear title. The only reason you'll give them more time than that is they have a hard money lender in place, a private lender, and their process is a little longer. So normally 7 to 14 days Really probably 7 to 10 days, and that's actual days, not business days, actual days. All right, but your goal when you're screening buyers is that obviously you want to provide the information to them that's needed for them to evaluate and make a decision on the property. But your goal should always be them as a repeat buyer. That should always be your goal whenever you're dealing with buyers. That's why sometimes if they can close fast, I might take a little less than what I thought I could probably get if I think they're going to be a repeat buyer, because I'll make it up down the road. Trust me, I will, and you can also. So screening the buyers is a huge part of preventing or stopping buyers from stealing your deals, and understanding who you're dealing with and what their purpose appears to be from the jump, and you can eliminate a lot of that. All right, so prevention, or how to stop buyers from stealing your deals. All right, obviously the basics is you need a contract with a seller. Now, I've been guilty where I may have told a buyer about a property, and I don't think they actually stole it. I've done so many deals, but I get confused on some stuff. I don't think that's what happened. Let me see. Well, I wouldn't even do that. I think I'm confused in another transit. But anyway, a contract with the seller, that's the basics. So you don't even need to talk to buyers until you have a contract with. Now, sometimes what I will do before I put a property in a contract, if it's a buyer that I've done deals with, obviously I have a level of trust with them, I will actually, I will let them know about the property, because it may be a property I'm really not sure if I'm in the right price range on the property, and then that may be just an additional negotiating tactic for me if I know my guy will pay this and they'll pay that. So I will do it, but that's only if I'm very comfortable with a buyer. So the basics is to prevent a buyer from stealing your deal. You must need to have it in a contract with the seller. That's the first thing. Whenever you start to advertise the property, and some people say you can't advertise, yes you can. My contract says I can. So advertising the property, I don't ever advertise the address, right? And you shouldn't either. When I mean that, Craigslist, Zillow, now Zillow you really won't have a choice. Well, no, they give you, I think they changed that a lot on Zillow. It's not as easy to advertise a property on Zillow as it used to be. So, but we just don't say Craigslist. Or if you were doing something offline, you're doing banner signs offline, you don't want to advertise the address. You're asking for it. You are asking for your deal to be blown up in your face if you advertise an address. And even when they call you, all right, you go to probably, what I'll do is give them an area, and I'll send them the video that I went out taking the video, upload to YouTube. You hear me say this, but that can be a valuable tool to it for you. It's free. You're already out there viewing the property. Why not use your smartphone? If you don't have one, you need to get one. They're too cheap for you not to have one. If you're going to be serious about this business, simplify the business by having the tools you need to make it easy for you to do deals. And a smartphone is a must, in my opinion. Doesn't have to be an iPhone, doesn't have to be a Galaxy, whatever number they're on, but it needs to be a one. Most of them are capable of going out and shooting a simple video, 3 to 5 minutes long, and uploading to YouTube. If you don't know how to do that, whatever type of phone you have, simply go to YouTube, it is your friend, and do a search. How do I upload a video from my such and such phone to YouTube? Boom, and it's going to show you. Going to be tons of videos to show you. Try to look for the more recent videos. All right, so seller has to be shaky also. Now, if you got a shaky seller, sometimes you have a fast talking seller, boom, boom. A lot of times they stick out like a sore thumb. So that may be a possibility that they already trying to hustle and get somebody to buy the property. That's why I do more listening than talking whenever I'm dealing with any seller, or probably with anyone, period. I try to do more listening than talking, all right, because I need to feel them out. I guess they're feeling me out, but I'm going to do more listening. So seller has to be shaky for that to happen anyway, so you have to be aware of that. But your contract, that's part of what your contract is for. All right, I mentioned before the memorandum of contract. Now, Google is your friend. If you want this, there are going to be several versions out there, but basically Should be just a one-page deal, and it's basically a way to go record the existing contract you have with the seller to cloud the title. And what that simply means is that whenever the title company pulls title, it should show up, hey, this property already has a contract on it. That question has to be answered, all right? And normally you're gonna have your contact information there, and so they're gonna contact you to find out what the issue is. And that's when you let them know, hey, I have a contract with the seller, you know, I have time to perform. I think this buyer, then maybe you make a name and they already know who you're talking about. And so most title companies are gonna say that, well, I can't say most. What they normally gonna do, they're not gonna put themselves at risk of having to pay that title insurance if you sue them or someone sues them, because the seller and the buyer were in cahoots with each other, and you can prove that you had a purchase and sales agreement. You know, so you know, they have to allow you to perform. They have to allow you to perform. Now, if the time expires, then that's one thing, but it's still going to probably have to be answered because that contract is in play. And if you, again, this all gets into a court of law, so we're talking about money, affecting the attorney you have versus them or whatever, but it will stop. You know, it should stop it. Let me just say that. Now, whether you win or not, I can't answer. I'm not an attorney, but it's going to cloud the title. Your objective is to simply cloud the title. All right. With all that being said, again, of all the deals I've done, as long as I've been doing this, the number of people that I talked to over and over, and I've heard some horror stories or whatever, but in most cases, they didn't even have it under contract. Everything that I can remember, they didn't even have it under contract. But in reality, they really didn't steal it from you or whatever because you didn't have control of it. So, but with all that being said, it's still all about relationships. Most buyers will look at you as an asset and they will want to continue to do business with you. And so they're not going to go around you. You're making it easy for them. Now, you're going to have some greedy people out there, but again, you're going to have the seller and the buyer on, you know, in cahoots with each other for that to go down. So that's how to stop buyers from stealing your deals. Now, I said a lot in there, but at the end of the day, once you record that memorandum of contract, that should cloud the title enough where that has to be addressed before they close onto it. So how to stop buyers from stealing your deals. That's this week's webinar. All right, so let's get into some numbers of why you're here and why should you be wholesaling. We're just gonna do some simple numbers, then we're gonna get into the question and answering period. If you did one deal per month and you average $5,000 to $7,000 per deal, in some markets, Southern California or just California in general, maybe parts of South Florida, New York City, obviously, you know, that average may be $20,000 to $30,000 per deal. Okay, so don't get caught up in, well, houses are not 50,000 in my market. The average house or in the hood houses are 200,000. That's fine. That means your check. It's just going to be a lot bigger than mine, but you're still going to have motivated sellers there. You're still going to have people that are going through divorce, job relocation, loss of job, medical issues, college tuitions, tired landlords, and so on. So you're still going to have those same issues in those same markets, which is going to create opportunities. So one deal per month, $5,000 to $7,000 per deal. That's 12 deals in a year, $60,000 to $84,000 per year. Move up to 2 deals per month, $5,000 to $7,000 per deal. That's 24 deals in a year. That's $120,000 to $168,000 per year. Get big boy a little bit. 5 deals per month, $5,000 to $7,000 per deal. 60 deals in a year. That's $300,000 to $420,000 per year. You know, that changes your life. Well, probably change your life back there with just 1 deal a month for most people. So don't forget about the podcast. You can access on iTunes if you have an Apple product, whether it's a smartphone or a tablet. You can just do a search for the Flip Man, and boom, there you are. I'll slowly upload my library of content so you don't have to use internet connection. You can just download and listen to me tell you how to make this money. 200 plus videos on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, flipman.net. Turn on the notifications. You want a free copy of my contract? Text contract to 313131. Do not text me. Text 313131. No area code needed. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. You see the handles here. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, turn on the notifications. If you are interested in my courses and coaching, you can call or text me at 205-492-3425 or go to flipman.net. Need proof of funds, realpof.com. Simply go there, submit your phone number. The next page, Keith will explain to you what you're getting. Same thing with privatemoneylist.net. Simply go to the site, submit your phone number. The next page, Keith is going to explain what you are getting. Over 400 private money lenders as the date of this video. I think it's even up a little higher now. So, how to stop buyers from stealing your deals. We're going to get into the question and answer period. So we'll stop sharing. And if you posted a question, make sure that you repost it. And I will try to answer it for you. All right, 7:49. Oh, she just made a statement there. So if you got any questions, please post them. Again, I appreciate everyone that has joined tonight. You keep showing up. I'll keep doing this as much as possible. So no questions. If you don't have any, we can end it early. I'm with it. If you had a question, just repost it. All right, IROC says, should I create an LLC or entity before I make deals? Well, it's not needed to do deals, but at some point you want to definitely create one just for tax reasons, which I can't get into that because I'm not clear about it. Great friend of mine, she does mine. She just said that's what I need to do. And I get some form of protection of your access. How many times should you send direct mail to your list before moving on to another list in your area? I would on a list, I would probably send every couple of months to the same list. So you need multiple lists. Again, every couple of months, you can do that every 3 months. But that's going to vary, and then people have sold and all, but, again, I would just do it every 3 months. Now, you may need to if you do it every 2 months or 3, you may need to update that same criteria because some of those may have already been moved on and not absentee anymore. So one says, have you sold the 43, 46 apartments? We have it in motion with a buyer. Hopefully that'll work out. I hope I would do due diligence time and may not work out on that. So I'll update as needed. So to answer your question, technically it's off the market. All right. Roland Jefferson says, assignment contract is different than a seller's contract. An assignment contract is different than a purchase and sales agreement. So to answer your question, yes, it is different. Carissa says, how much does it cost to mail your way? Well, if you're just talking about a per mail piece, it's like $1.15 as far as the postage. But you buy a smaller list, so that's going to be a little less expensive. And then you're not extending to the entire list because you're scrubbing the list for equity. So even though the postage is more per piece, you're actually going to spend less because you're being more efficient and more direct on sending to only people that appear to have equity. So hopefully I answered that for you. Can you do a webinar on advertising the deal once you have the house under contract? I actually think I have. I may have to go back, but if I haven't, maybe I'll do that next week. I think I may have already done that. So, all right. Tyler Stewart says, what instructions do you send to the title company so they know you're signing the deal? Well, both contracts and what I call a closing detail sheet, which has the seller's name, the buyer's name, who's paying you the assignment fee and for what amount, or whether there's any earnest money that's been collected, and who's paying the closing cost. All right. Not sure how they pronounce their handle here, but I'll just read the question. Have you ever had a seller contact you because they saw their property listed? My seller asked if I had posted so I could pay him when it sells. Do you mean, did they see an ad that you posted? Just answer that for me, please. And then I can answer it for you. Okay, is the closing process the same with an owner occupant? I'm coming across a lot of renters interested in the properties. I'm not sure what you mean. I think I'm gonna answer here, Maria Williams. Yeah, I've done deals where the property either has the actual owner there or a renter. I'm assuming that's what you were asking. Kevin Jeter says, I can't find buyers for a property which makes a co-wholesaler $30K because everyone I'm talking to wants the address. How do I talk about the deal without giving the address? Well, you need to control it at some point. That's part of it. If the wholesaler, I'm assuming you don't have it under contract and you work with another wholesaler, if they don't give you some form of control, you have nothing. You could easily be circumvented, not get paid on that deal. All right, Carissa, how often do you do direct mail, weekly or monthly? How often I should do it is weekly. How often I actually do it is a different story. I'm such a huge bandit sign guy, but weekly. But you have to do it based on what your budget will allow and your time, Carissa. That's what it has to boil down to. Jim Tim says, should I stop advertising at 346? Yeah, I would say stop advertising. I'll have something else though. Roland Jeff said, if you put up bandit signs on a major road and somebody takes half of them down the next day, what can you do to keep our signs up? Now, that's a definitely indicator that you don't put them in that area anymore. It's a lot of it is testing. I can't, without being in your market, I couldn't tell you how to go about it, but this is what I would do if I was there. The first thing I'm going to identify is where signs exist already, and just putting them on busy streets. That sounds like what you should do, but sometimes you just got to be a little creative. You may put it on, on any busy street. You got a lot of streets that enter onto the busy street. So what you may do is just put them a block back, because people have to enter. If it's a stop sign, they have to enter onto the busy street, so they're not as visible to the haters or whoever is pulling them down. So you may want to test it that way a little bit. But the first thing you want to do is try to place signs in areas where they already exist. I know you want to be in areas by yourself, but bandit signs are nothing new. And in most cases, it's already been tested. So, let the market help you, because a lot of times those guys have already tested those areas. But again, if you still want to test areas where signs don't exist, that's what I would do if you're trying to place them on busy streets. You may just do a block over, because you're always going to have the interest streets on every block onto those busy streets in most cases. All right. Okay, yeah, he said, yeah, he saw the listing. That was referring back if the seller saw your listing. Yeah, I just recently had that happen to me also. So I know what you mean. And I think actually another wholesaler actually brought it to the seller's attention. I think they contacted me, and after I told them that I really wasn't interested in a JV, but if they brought me a buyer, we'll work it out. I think they immediately contacted the seller, but I didn't know they was a wholesaler until after I gave them the address. But after after he came to me with that JV stuff, I thought, oh man, and immediately my ad got deleted and flagged on Craigslist. And also, which I don't know if it was them, but I'm gonna say it was them. And then when I talked to the seller, like a couple of days later, they were aware of it. So yeah, I've had that to happen. And so basically what I did is that I told the seller, yeah, I'm proactive in trying to sell the property before while I'm in motion of buying it, you know. And so they didn't like it, but you know, whatever, so they're cool. And plus it's probably not a deal I'm not gonna be able to do a deal on anyway. For some unexpected repair issues that make my price not good. So, you know, but yeah, I've had that happen. It's going to happen. You know, there's no question about that, but it's not normally it's going to happen. So that's one of the main reasons why you shouldn't advertise the address also. And you can tell if you're dealing with an internet savvy type seller or whatever. So you have to be aware of that. So don't sleep on posting bandit signs in the area where the property is located. Don't sleep on that. That's definitely an option also. All right, so let me see here. All right. Okay, Kate Davis. All right. The seller that called you from the bandit sign, how's that going? You know what? Where she said she didn't want to have the agent involved, the next day after she spoke to her sister, they wanted the agent involved. And so I'm not going to be able to get the price that I want, but I think they'll be motivated down the road to sell again, I think. So as of right now, it's not going because they re-induced it. As you remember on the call, she was saying she was going to let the agent go within, well, the next day, but probably 2 days later, she said they were going to bring the agent back and, you know, back because that was a friend, blah, blah. But that was more her sister wanting to do that than her, the lady that called. So as of right now, nothing. I'm going to actually put up another call. Somebody said, why don't you do another live call? I got a couple more that I'll probably release over the next few days or whatever if I can get them edited. So it takes a little time to do that editing because I don't want to put someone's name out there, their information. So all right, Maria Williams, for owner occupants, should you collect earnest money? I'm not sure what she means. If so, does this go to the seller or do I keep this? This shows on the settlement statement, correct? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Should you collect earnest money or do you mean, well, let me just say this. If you're doing this contract with the seller, you give them earnest money and you got a buyer for that property, you collect the earnest money. Now, sometimes they won't actually give it to you. They may put in escrow with their attorney or title company. Hopefully that answers your question. Whether they have a renter or not, so an occupant or not, that's irrelevant on the earnest money. I'm not sure what person's name again, but it said I even got an email with my house advertised. That was my fiance answer too. So hopefully I answered your question. Good. All right. How many bandit signs should we a good amount to put out? As many as you can afford. Ideally 50 per week, but you want to be careful and not go crazy because the worst thing you want to happen is to put them all out and they come down. That's the worst thing that you would want to happen. All right. Coach STEM 601. I think that's STEM. Okay, STEM 601. I've been putting out banner signs. I have buyers calling, but no sellers. Any suggestions? Wow, if you have buyers calling, I would have to know how big your market is. That, you know, if you tell me what city you're in, I may can tell you why you're not getting a lot. Carissa Harden, do you do internet marketing besides YouTube? You know, Facebook. I have Facebook ads. I do Instagram ads, but that's pretty much it. That's it. Just YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and I pay for those for the most part. So YouTube is just, it's free flowing because I just built this library of content. So it all mixes together. If you're talking about just for this, you know, the flip man, whatever, but it's Ty Taylor doing deals or whatever, that's something different. But this flip man stuff, yeah, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram for the most part as of right now. That's where the attention is. So that's where I try to be. Keldrick Cannon says, how many calls do you get before you actually get a deal? The numbers have been pretty consistent over the years. If I get 3 calls a day over a 30-day period average, I'm probably going to do 3 deals that month. So, you know, you can do the math from that. Some people may have a higher success rate, but that's what has worked for me and tends to work for students that are doing deals. Kenneth Sargent says, how much do you charge for apartments? Just go to flipman.net for pricing, Kenneth. Thanks for asking. Flipman.net. The reason I don't want to quote a price because they will change. All right, Maria Williams again says, in the buyer contract, do I collect earnest money? Yes, you do. But sometimes they may not give it to you. They'll want an escrow or, a title company or attorney to hold it in escrow. All right. He's in Houston. Oh, yeah. If you're in Houston, Coach STEM, just keep marketing, man. Just keep marketing. You'll start to get calls from sellers. There's no question about that. Just keep compounding what you're doing. You'll start to get calls from sellers. Just always think outside the box. How can be a little bit more creative, a little different than what everybody else is doing, or whatever. But just keep doing what you're doing. You'll be okay. Someone says, have you ever used a sign staple to put up signs? No, I've never, and I'm sure they work. I've never been one to try to hang. Well, you know what? I did do that a little bit, but I didn't use a sign staple. I actually used a ladder and put them up. But I didn't do too much of that. I like my signs to be eye level. I already understand that my signs are going to come down. So, and I understand I'm always trying to be putting them up. I'm obviously looking for as much life as I can possibly get out of signs, but I've never used the actual sign staple. But great idea. You know, if you want to post, if that's your goal to post them high, you know, great idea. All right, Javier Munez says, what should I put on my banner signs and should I send them to voicemail? All right, first thing is you want to keep it simple. Understand that people are reading from a distance, and the larger your letters are, the more visible your message will be. I normally go with 9 by 24 as far as size because of the way I hang my signs. But I buy houses, phone number, maybe a small text, call or text. And I picked that up from someone locally here, and that's a good idea. So I buy houses, maybe a smaller text in the middle, call or text, or maybe on the side of the phone number, call or text, and the phone number. That's it. That's the only thing you really have. So yeah, and then as far as should you send them, no. The only time they go to voicemail is when you can't answer the phone. Remember, you're not the only one doing this, you know. So a lot of times I get deals and others get deals because you're the first one that they call and they don't call anyone else because you've agreed to a price with them. But if you don't answer, you're not the only one doing this. They could easily call someone else. So if you can answer the phone, which I know that's not possible for everyone, but you definitely want to answer the phone as much as possible. in my opinion. Wow, see, I got another call, another seller call. What's going on? Oh, whoa. I'm missing money with you guys. What are y'all doing to me? Possible money. I should have answered and let you all listen to it, but I never know what people are gonna say. So then I wouldn't want their information out there. Let me see, okay, all right, back to questions here, 749. Interesting handle. Should I have a contractor evaluate repairs before I get a property on a contract or during inspection period? Well, really should be able to do that yourself. I actually did a flip-a-nar on just that, estimating repair costs. So that's something that you should be able to figure yourself. You can't drag a contractor out there on all the properties that you'll look at. It's not brain surgery. You don't have to be exact. You just need a ballpark number, to be able to know if you have a deal or not. So, no, to answer your question. All right, Wakil M said, hey, Ty, I got a 5-bedroom, 4-bath in South Boston, Virginia. Need help, Ty, need a buyer, less JB on it. Well, Wakil, I would be a fool to turn down money, but if you're having trouble finding a buyer, in most cases, I don't know what you're doing in marketing-wise, it's probably not a deal. In most cases, not always, but in most cases, it is not difficult to give away money, my friend. So you probably, if you throw up the numbers here, I'll tell you if you got a deal or not. Just do that. I can help you right now. I don't know. I don't do this outside of the flip-a-nar. People don't start texting me with deals, but I'll answer any question on the flip-a-nar. So what's the price and what's the ARV? And I'll tell you if you have a deal or not. We just start there. All right. Do you put out solo buys houses? Says, do you put out all the signs on your own or get help? For the most part, I put them out myself. Believe it or not, I have the most recent amount of signs I put out. A guy that's been doing some work for me, wanted some additional work. Picked him up Saturday morning at 7, and I just drove him around. Showed him how I put out signs, and boom. So I just drove him around. If you're going to hire someone to do it, if you're going to follow them around and tell them exactly how to put them up, or you're going to drive them around until you are comfortable that they understand how to put signs up. Because you just hire someone blindly, they're not going to do it where you're going to be happy with it, because their objective is to get the signs out. They don't care how they put them out. I'm telling you. So I do it for a couple of reasons. For humbleization, if that's a word, and also I can actually see what's going on out there in my market besides going to see houses. I can see what others are doing. I can do a lot of good thinking and probably more humbleization than anything. That's why I started. Obviously, you may not know, but I can't pay someone to do it, but it's all about just staying, understanding that all this could go away at any point, and that's my way of letting me know that. So, and then I'm just never satisfied with anyone do it. Now, if you're going to do it, I just recommend you just drive someone around or follow them around until you're comfortable that they know, how you want to put out. That's what I would suggest. Is your contract for double closing and assignment? Yeah, you can do both. Candace Hawkins. Carissa Harden says, how much does your Instagram ads cost? You can spend what you want to. You can spend $5 a day if you wanted to. Obviously, it's all based on how much you spend on the exposure you get, and then what you're trying to do. It depends on what you're trying to do, Carissa. But it's a great place to advertise. Facebook and Instagram, their ads so cheap, and that's where all the attention is. You're sitting at lunch or something. Every time you go into any restaurant, or even if you're sitting in traffic, look what people are doing. They're on their phones. This deal right here, and I'm not giving you any revelation or anything. Maybe I'm not. You don't see it, but this deal right here, this is where it's at, man. You know, this is your office right here. This is how you can run your business. This deal right here. Do not sleep on it. Whatever you do not sleep on it. I'm telling you. Instagram and Facebook, and that'll change over time. But right now, their ads are so inexpensive, and I'm constantly tweaking it. I haven't figured out how to buy houses there yet. I have gotten some leads. I haven't closed the deal yet, but I'm gonna figure it out. I am going to figure it out, because that is a goal, man. And a lot of investors are not there yet. Even the people that do this guru stuff, which I don't consider myself a guru, just some clown on the internet right now. But I know what it does for me with this. You know, if I can duplicate that with actually buying or doing deals, Lord have mercy. So hopefully I answered your question. But yeah, you need to understand that if you don't understand anything else. Jim Tim said, did you ever sell the Wendy's or the Family Dollar? The Family Dollar, no. The Wendy's still in process. Who gets the MD if the buyer backs out? Rockin' Robin says, well, you're supposed to get it. The only reason that you don't supposed to get it is that he pulled out, and if he had a due diligence period in his contract and he pulled out before that expired, or if you can't produce a clear title. But other than that, you're supposed to get that EMD. That's the purpose of it. All right. Someone says, what do you say to sellers when they call? You can go look at one of my more recent videos, Candace. I posted a actual live call, and I'll have another one in a few days that I'll post up. You can listen to that conversation. It's probably 3 or 4 videos back, so just go to my channel, you can see it. All right. Javier says, I live in Dallas, Texas, and I need help. Where should I start? Wouldn't mind making Flip Man Junior money. All right. The first thing, Javier, is that you got to educate yourself, whether it's here through my content or wherever. Mine is free. So you can dive into my channel with 200 plus videos. I know I whooped that horse there a lot, but it is what it is, you know. So that's where I was starting. From there, you're going to take action. On my channel, you learn how to find deals. You learn how to talk to sellers and negotiate with them. You have the contracts for sellers and buyers. I give examples on how to fill out both. I give away the actual contract that I use for free. I instruct you on how to set up a closing and how to close a deal. So everything you need is there in the channel. You know, it just doesn't come with me, but everything you need is there in the channel. So I'm not sure what else you're gonna ask for. So from there, you just want to take action, my friend. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. I still make them regretfully. My friend says the seller literally just texted me too. You may want to take that ad down. All right. Carissa says you are booming tonight. Okay, that's what's happening. All right, 749 says, how difficult is it to clear, say, a tax or code lien from a title in your market tie? Well, those things are liens, so they should have an amount attached to them, and that's part of the negotiations of your deal. Whether you have a deal or not, if the seller gives you a price, that price should include those the tax liens and whatever liens are there should be taken into consideration as far as the price. And that can be a deal breaker, or it might not matter at all. If they want to sell a house for $10,000, they owe $4,400 in tax liens or just liens in general, then that means they'll walk away with what, 5,600 if my math is correct. So instead of 10,000, so that money just comes out of their money at closing. You know, the title company takes care of that disbursement. All right, lifelong student says, how do you guarantee payment as a bird dog? I've gotten ripped off because they just buy the property and don't contact me. Besides getting under contract, is there a way to guarantee payment? Really, there isn't. It really isn't. You can sign some agreement or whatever, but that's not worth anything because you're acting like a real estate agent. You don't have a license. So it really won't hold up in court, in my opinion. I don't know. You can be sued for anything. You may win on effective attorney, but it's going to be worth it for whatever they're going to pay you anyway. So what I would recommend to you, even though you may want to use bird dogs to help you find deals and buyers or whatever, but just start the whole. If you found a deal for someone, just take the extra step and put it in the contract, and that will ensure you get paid. You're a wholesaler, so just take the extra step and put it on the contract, and you won't have to worry about that. That eliminates that problem, and plus you'll make more. Rockin' Robin says, how do you determine what your assignment fee will be? The formula. There is no formula, Robin. That's something I struggle with being able to provide an answer for. I just know what once I get a property on the contract, I don't care if it's a $50,000 property or a $900,000 property. I'll just have a number in my mind. Hey, I'm gonna ask for more than what I'll accept. So just using a $50,000 property, I'm normally going to go up at least $12,000 to $15,000, but there's no formula there. That's just a feel. And you'll get it too, whether you're dealing with me or not, but I honestly can't give you a formula. You could do your own. You can say, hey, I want to make 10% on this deal. You can just say that, if that's your number, that's your number. What worked for you may not work for me, but I may want to make 10 grand on the deal, but may only make 1,500. What's half a zero? So there's no formula. I struggle with that. I don't have an answer for you on that. I'm not afraid to say that. I just don't have an answer. Sydney says, how do you negotiate EMD with the seller if they ask about the $10 you are putting down on the property? If they are having trouble with the $10, I'll ask them, well, how much do you want? And we'll backdoor from that. I'm not going to do more than 100. So I already have that in my mind. So if that's a deal breaker, then so be it in most cases. Now, again, I've paid more before, but normally that's it could be a deal breaker. It'd be no different if they don't give me the price that I want. So those are the terms. So terms can be deal breaker just like the price. And our EMD is a part of the terms. Someone says, Carissa says, do you put out signs saying I buy apartments? I tried that before. There's not enough apartment owners. I guess if you leave the signs out there long enough, you'll probably get some traction or whatever. And I've tried that, but it's not much I hadn't tried, Carissa. I've tried and didn't get one call. I think I put out 100 signs to say I buy apartments. They stayed up a minute. Now I put out signs to say I buy houses and apartments and still don't get any calls. It's just rare. But I guess if you do it enough, you'll probably eventually get calls. It's just not the number of houses, house owners, single family owners versus apartments is just such a disparity that, the numbers are just not there. Not in my market anyway. You could try it or whatever. It's all about testing. Each market is different. I wouldn't hesitate to test that if I were you. You may have a different experience and you come back and share it with us. So. All right. Ranisha says, I had a viewing tonight, but I got a little uncomfortable when I saw the foundation. The brick on the house was soft. Will an investor still consider the house if it's cheap enough? Yeah, a lot of investors they expect foundation issues. if it's an older house. So it still had, the price just has to justify. When you start talking about foundation work, that could get into 10, 15, 20, 25, it can get up there. So the price has to be adjusted. And sometimes you can go back to the seller. They know, and they'd be willing to go down. So. All right. Coach STEM 601 said, I have a coworker that will be selling her house in the next year. Should I try to get it under an assignment contract? Well, you'll want to get it on a purchase and sales agreement, not an assignment contract. And what is the number for Dirt Cheap Signs, man, that you advertise? Just go to their website, dirtcheapsigns.com. You'll see the phone number should be in the top right. Just call and speak to Curtis or Christina. Just let them know I sent you. They'll give you the discount that they give people that I referred. Not much, but it'll add up over time. And then you don't have to go through them. It's at least a price, a price. What's the word I'm looking for? It's something you can measure other pricing by. So you know what they're charging for 9x24, one color or two or whatever. And that gives you something to go by and do your own due diligence on. So, but if you're going to call them, just simply go to their site, dirtcheapsigns.com, and ask to speak to Curtis or Christina. Let them know I sent you. Tom Baker, T. Baker, I'm not sure how to pronounce the first name. What's up, Ty? From Houston, I'm ready, bro. Okay, all right, that's what's up. All right, Outlaw 2BS. All right, it says, all right, at closing, when you have the buyer and seller contracts there, does the title company just give you the difference between the sales prices, or is there another document that denotes your payment? Some title company or closing attorneys may want you to go ahead and sign the actual assignment just for their records. But basically, yeah, you're getting the difference between the two contracts, one seller and the buyer. So if the seller's contract is $30,000 and your contract with the buyer is $41,000, you get that $11,000 difference. So yes. All right, Teresa B. out of Teresa B, what's happening? All right. What do you say when wholesalers call you trying to sell you a house? Well, you can listen to them, Ms. Teresa. It depends on how, if they have a deal or not. Some people can find the deal but can't close the deal because they don't know how to find buyers. That happens. It does happen. A lot of times I shy away from if they're heavily advertising them, but over the years, a few have worked out. So to answer your question, you always want to entertain, see what the numbers are, because they may not really know how to move a property. They just stumbled on a deal and don't have a clue on how to advertise it. So most definitely. All right, Ken Sargent says, I really don't like my job. I have $50,000. Should I quit my job and I guess do this full time? Help me, please. I wouldn't quit my job, Kenneth. Bear with it. Take a small portion of that 50K and start marketing yourself heavily. It wouldn't take much of it. You could have a serious campaign going with about $1,000. And obviously, if you as a way of, it's a method to the madness, but I would do that before I quit. Just replace your income, but you have a start that a lot of people don't have with that type of war chest, but that should mostly go into marketing yourself. So, all right. Will Kill says the price is $60,000, the ARV is $173. Will Kill, what are the repairs on that? Even without knowing the repairs, that should be a deal. That should be a deal. You can text me or whatever. I'll take a closer look at it, but that should be a deal. I don't normally do this, but I'll be a fool to turn down money. That's normally a deal because that's over 100K in equity on a property that's 173. I'm not sure what your issues are there. You should have people beating your door down there. Something has to be missing. Something has to be. Um, Angelo King says, should we take bandit signs down at the end of the weekend? No. No, don't ever take them down unless you're called by the law or something, but no, don't ever take them down. You got to get a life out of them. You must do. Carissa says, how many deals are you doing per month with commercial apartments and houses? Commercial apartments, they don't come by the month. They come probably more like a quarter. But with houses, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, that ain't always the case. You know, if the man gets a little directed in the wrong direction, namely with this commercial, and so I may lack on the houses or whatever. So, but generally speaking, I'm pretty good between, this is a pretty wide range between 3 to 7. So it may drop off 1 month, pick back up or whatever, but it all based on how effective of a marketer that I am. That's what it all boils down. No different for me than it is for you, is that if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm not going to do deals. It's really that simple. All right, we're going to answer a couple more. We've been rocking and rolling here for an hour and a half now. How do you, Felix says, how do you do comps, sir? Felix, you just need, I hate to shun you like this, but I have so many videos on that. Just do a search calculating ARV in 60 seconds, and that'll be a start. And then you can just see how to determine ARV, which that goes into comps or whatever, and you'll see quite a few videos that I have that explain that in detail. All right. Code 38, I think that's how it's pronounced. How do you handle earnest money with an out of state seller? Do you send it to them? Yes. If you actually send it to them, yeah, you can send it through wire or just overnight it to them, or UPS, FedEx. I would never recommend using the postal service on something like that, FedEx or UPS. Cindy said, do you wait till night to put out your signs during the day or during the day? I always put them out in the daytime. I think when I first started, I put a few out at night, but that was once. I know I've only done that once, broad daylight. But normally I do it on Saturdays, Sundays, but I'll put them out Monday through Friday. It doesn't matter. But normally early Saturday morning, but daylight hours and early Sunday morning. There's not a lot of traffic out there, and you can get quite a few of them knocked out. All right, Calvin Compton says, with your trainings for sale after purchase, do you offer unlimited coaching on each deal, helping us through each sale until we're comfortable? Yes, and yes, to answer your question, Calvin. All right, Renisha Alberta says, price 25,000, ARV 75. Depends on the repairs on that. Renisha may need to be a little cheaper. The repairs, it just depends on the repairs on that one. May need to be a little cheaper than 25. I know in my market, I would probably have to get that probably around 15K, and I would probably wholesale it around 25, but it still depends on the repair. Now, the repairs around 10K, you may have something there, but if anything above that, but each market is different. You may be able to still knock down 5 to 10K on that. You know, I just know here that may not work. All right, last question here from T. Baker. When Tamaj, I think that's how Tajma Baker, I think that's how it's pronounced. When wholesaling commercial buildings, is it faster to complete them than wholesaling houses? No. Commercial could easily take 4 months, 90 days to 3 months to 4 months, easily that. So obviously any deal can be closed a lot quicker. But on average houses, you can close a house in 7 days, 5 days. That's very difficult to do with large commercial deals, especially, just with the due diligence that goes into whoever's buying to see if it's something that they really need to do. But anyway, so this week, I'm glad you guys showed up. Again, share with friends and family. I'm going to leave this original up so people will get this, the raw version. Again, thank you all for coming out this week on this week's webinar. Tell a friend, family member. FlipBernard.com every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain. Wait, I'm wrong. Yeah, and 4 p.m. Pacific time. So again, thanks for coming out, and I will see you guys on the flip side.